From the UK, broadcasting around the world. You're listening to the Mic Drop Club, hosted by Douglas Hammondishe. Message received. You do not need to know what you need. Just engage with the podcast feed. Providing weekly insights into cool stuff we've read, saw, did, or heard about what made us say, wow, eureka, damn, nothing is off limits. If it motivates and inspires you to reach your goals, then it shall be discussed. Featuring guest interviews from high performers and people of influence, and weekly awards for the best mic drop moment. This podcast is guaranteed to leave you pumped up for the week ahead. Don't just live life. Make life boom.
Hi everybody, it's Douglas Hammondishe with another episode for the Mic Drop Club. Today I am really blessed. I have Charlotte in the house to talk to us or take us through a journey through technology and Christ. So no further ado, Charlotte, how are you doing? You okay?
I'm good, thank you, Douglas. Thanks for having me with you. It's great.
Superb. And I know right now you're hailing from France. So how is it over there?
Yep, France is beautiful. It's green. We don't have a chateau, as people might think we do when you hear that we've moved to France. We have a little farm in the middle of a field, but it's great to have space around us. So yeah, really blessed to be here.
Absolutely. That must be picturesque, being on a farm at Christmas and in France. The vibes must be just so epic. So thank you very much for taking the time out today. And Charlotte, your background is truly eclectic when it comes to transformation, digital change, and all of those facets. Could you just take us through your journey thus far?
Of course,
and what you're doing?
Yeah. I mean, I think just to start off with it, when I was at school as a kid, I never sat down on careers day and said, when I grow up, I want to be a chief operating officer of a digital transformation company. But, here I am doing that. But the journey to get here really hasn't been one from a technical background or one in transformation, but it has been from a baseline. I think everyone has a baseline, and my baseline has always been to care. So with that, I started off, left school at 15 with 2 GCSEs to my name. And I guess that really defined me as a person going through life because, I wasn't good at school. I wasn't good at learning, at education, but I knew I wasn't stupid, and I knew, I had intelligence. So, you go through life on this journey, and I've done everything that you could possibly think of, from working in a travel agent, from being a vet, to working, in a greengrocer's shop, to eventually when the kids were small, I worked on the wards at a hospital, East Kent Hospitals. And that's where I guess I started in that healthcare journey, very much ward-based. Anything from, I've gone through, Douglas, from maternity, beginning of life, through to the mortuary and end of life, and everything in between. So to see that journey from a healthcare perspective over the years and how it's changed. And now I've come into an area where, if I'm honest, it was, I'll fake it till I make it. And
oh, wow.
I moved into technology and just traded off of my ability to speak, to be articulate, to have a passion about, improving people's lives. But never one from a technical background. I was the one that used to break everything. And if I'm honest to people that are listening here, I use my trackpad as a keyboard stand for 6 months. So, this is my level of tech where I came into the industry. And, over the 10 years that I've been working in this digital transformation area, I've really learned the skills that I need to really understand the power that technology has and can play in healthcare. So I think that's kind of like my journey from a physical point of view, but I always think there's a physical and there's a spiritual.
Absolutely.
And I think my spiritual journey has been more profound, with some real real points in life that have pivotal points that have changed my direction. And I guess it started from, brought up in a Christian background, go to church, Sunday school. But really, at the age of 12, I stole a rubber from a shop. And that moment changed my life for the next 30 odd years. Because from that point on, I thought to myself, I'm not good enough. I'm not going to go to heaven. I failed. I'm going to get up to the big pearly gates and Pete's going to go, sorry, you stole a rubber when you were 12. You're not coming in.
Wow. We need just to pause for 1 second, just for that revelation, should I say, or coming out for your honesty. You're going to get a mic drop, okay? You're going to get a mic drop for that, because it's so important. We tend to have people on the show who will not reveal everything about themselves. But I think that is a significant moment of truth, moment of clarity. It's a life-defining event. And we salute you for sharing that with us on the Mic Drop Club. So that's superb. No, thank you for doing that. And again, just to recap again, you said the baseline of your operation, how you operate as an individual, is coming from a place of caring. Mm-hmm. And you're linking that now to your spiritual journey, going to Sunday school. Yeah? Okay. So you got this rubber in your hand. You feel like you're not going to heaven. Okay. What does that make you do and feel?
It makes me go inward. And I'd say the next years were the wilderness years, because everything that I did, if I failed at something, it was, well, I'm not going to go to heaven. And this is a direct result of me stealing that rubber. I failed. So through life, when you make, I've gone through and I've made mistakes and I've had wins, and it doesn't matter inside. I thought, it doesn't matter how good I am. It doesn't matter how much I care about someone. Inside, I'm not good enough. I'm bad, from that point of view. And so you bury it and you put up walls to yourself, and you know that there's a hole missing in your heart from it, but you ignore it and you fill it with material things, with, I don't care about what people think of me. And you build up these barriers to really mask that pain of the fact that you have failed in faith, if that makes sense. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s and I found out that I was perimenopause quite early, and that had a massive impact on me, who I was. I was very angry at the time. I lost confidence in myself. I left the NHS at that point because of that. I just couldn't cope with that anxiety and stress level. But what it made me do is go inwards. And I'm very, very blessed to have a wonderful husband who said to me, Charlotte, you need to go on your own journey. You need to find yourself. And so I went to church and I asked the big questions, and I was completely honest. And there was, again, a defining moment was we went to a Maundy Thursday, and a guy came up to me and said, are you going to have your feet washed? And I said, I'm not worthy. Absolutely not. No, I can't. And I still didn't get it. I still didn't get faith at that point. And he said to me, but Charlotte, that's the whole point. You're already forgiven. And he loves you for just the way you are. And at that moment, Douglas, every barrier came off, the skin shed, the heart opened, it flooded in, and I understood that my relationship with God, with Jesus, is within me, and that's my personal journey. And from then on, well, we've been in a great relationship.
Wow. And super. So no, super. As you recalling that, I'm getting, my hairs are standing up on my wrist. You probably can't see it, right? But they are. It's amazing that moment of clarity. And I guess for people of faith to speak so candidly about these moments is so important. We speak about having permission to fail, permission to have our flaws. And I think the fact that we have this belief system within us. And when we respond to it, because having belief and actually truly believing in your belief system are two different things. Some people, I grew up in a Christian background at home as well. And there's many times there's been doubt in my head and this inadequacy that, that it's like a cloud over your head. No matter what you say or do, your inner self thinks it's you're going to be found out. And you spoke about faking it till you're making it. Yeah. I lived by that mantra for such a long time, a long time. But now we share these platforms so that we don't need to fake it. We just turn up with our most authentic self. And you know what? Not everybody's going to like you, but at least they'll respect you for the value that you want to present. Absolutely. So in having your feet washed and renewing your, should I say renewing or should I say solidifying your faith? Okay. How has that galvanized you? How does that drive the things that you do within the digital transformational space?
I think it comes from a place of worth. And, we talk about why our purpose. Now, our purpose, for me, God's purpose is to love and be loved. So many people spend years looking for their purpose. Why am I here? How, what is it that I'm supposed to do? And I think if we all come from a place of love, then it's very, very simple. The plan is very difficult to work out, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But in tech, where I am now, because I come from that place of faith and love, it means that I can build on helping people that I understand. And I've been in that same situation. I talk about my years on the ward and understanding that workforce need. Now, at the moment, I think digital transformation can really help the workforce be in a better place. And what I mean by that is that, when I've got my faith, I'm happy to stand out there and be that voice that's not heard. I can bridge the gap between being on the front line and what tech digital need to bring to make that workforce better, to improve lives. We talk about Maslow's hierarchy, love is in the middle, and that's where I come from, that place of love. Now, if you put that, you respect people and you move into the self-esteem. And with the workforce, our healthcare workforce, they're at a place where, they're feeling the pressures of everyday life, of working. They're working with paper still, everyone is in a world of instant connectivity. And our NHS sometimes doesn't bring that. But what tech can do and what I can do in my position is bridge that gap and really influence the way that digital transformation is implemented to make sure that the changes that are made really benefit the user on the ground. They benefit me 20 years ago when I was sat in a storeroom on a ward crying because I've done 14 hours with no sleep and I still hadn't finished, to Mary. And this is a real life example of Mary. She was on reception. Now she's a 50-year-old, 60-year-old, I think she was, woman. Technology had come in, this new technology, and it absolutely scared her. She lost all her confidence in who she was and her ability, because that technology wasn't implemented correctly. Now, what I can do is influence that and give that story, give that clinical, that person understanding behind every digital product, behind every digital project. There's a person, there's people, and I think that's what we need to do. Tech needs to speak to the people that are using it to really drive up usage and utilization in the right way.
Okay, guys, everybody
You're getting
ready?
greedy, Charlotte. So you get another mic drop for that moment. Their person, their digital transformation. Well done to you. This is what it's about at the end of the day. We've got all of these acronyms that we can use, all these techniques for change management, transformation, all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, digital technology, these are tools that enable the human to do and have a better experience of whatever it is that they're doing. That's what it's supposed to be. But all too often that we see shoehorned in transformation. And I think for me, it emanates from the business case, where we were putting a business case, okay, we're going to bring this piece of technology and it has to reap these rewards, right? It has to change the system in this way. But the human will automatically define how they're going to use that technology. And sometimes if there's a rigidity to the way we transform a service to say, no, you're going to have to use it this way because that's what we agreed in the business case. You don't allow for the natural way technology is implemented. For example, very quickly, a few years ago, before the property crash in 2009, 2008, I was looking at buying a residential apartment in Romford. Don't ask me why, but yeah, in Romford. And they had this nice brochure, picturesque brochure. You had the flats newly constructed. You had the greenery around it, the trees, the jogger, the person walking the dog. You know, it showed you the vision, what it's going to like if you buy this property, right? As I was riding the tsunami of the property crash, that fell through. But years later, I've driven back to that same place I was going to buy this apartment. And where they got the meandering, nice, like scenic walkway, they got a diagonal path that humans have made themselves directly from the high street to the front door. and it's so direct. It's like, wow. And I started thinking to myself, that is sometimes like how transformation is. Yeah. You know, from the time when the need has been defined, business case formulated, that need can sometimes change on the ground. But nurses, healthcare workers are forced to still make it work in the way, you know, that flexibility, working with the human is so important, because if you don't appreciate or respect that.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes it's driven from, you know, from the wrong place. You know, there's good intentions there, but when it comes from a strategy point of view, you know, you need to, meet the objectives of a regional or a national perspective. What we miss is how is that going to be used on the ground? And that's very different sometimes. And I think, you know, tech people have their way of speaking, and sometimes that doesn't come across. You know, they understand. I remember working when I first started, I used to break stuff because they used to give it to me and say, how can you use this? And I would go, well, no, I want it to swipe left, or I want it to swipe right. And that's because from a user point of view, it doesn't matter on paper. Through your testing, if it works, great. But actually, how is it going to be used by those on the ground? And I think that's where I'm blessed to be able to now, at a later part in life, have the confidence in who I am based on my experience and knowledge that I've got from all walks of life, from all my failures, from all my achievements. I've brought to this point now where I can stand up as a voice in a position of confidence in knowing that the workforce will maybe listen to me because I've been there myself. So I'm not just a COO of a company. I'm actually Charlotte, who worked on maternity. I'm Charlotte, who ran A&E wards. I'm Charlotte that's worked on, in a patient flow. So I really hope that we have an opportunity to influence that change.
Absolutely. And that certainly comes across naturally from yourself, that there's a relaxing, calming disposition that you have, which I like a lot, which allows people to put their guards down and engage, because you're happy to, and you're confident enough to go there in terms of your own experiences. All too often, I think, leaders, don't give up enough of their own experiences, good or bad, to allow the opposite side to then share theirs. It's always one direction. You come with our problems, so you end up having a transformational workshop, sit down there and say, tell us all your problems. And that tends to not work when we're talking about humanistic, led transformation and debunking all these things. So have you ever found yourself really going to your source of your secret powers, which is your faith, through a project to help you get through?
I think I always do. I'm really good at asking Jesus to meet me somewhere. And if you ask him, he will meet you wherever you want. He'll meet you in the middle of the night when you're up. He'll meet you in the middle of a meeting when you're stressed. He'll meet you, at any time of need. And sometimes I just find myself just taking that moment back and taking that deep breath in and really listening to that inner part of me. Now, for me, obviously, my Christian-based faith, that's, we call that the Holy Spirit. And I always think that it's the Holy Spirit that trains your brain to think like Jesus. And that's where I can, sometimes when I get frustrated on a call, I just have to come back and think, what are they going through? Come from it from a place of love. And it always comes back to that. And if you come back to, listening, and I think that's a real skill that sometimes we miss. We're on a call and we've asked a question, but we're not listening back to what is being said. We're thinking about what the other person, what our next question is going to be, or thinking about what we should be doing for dinner. And sometimes it's really, I have that inability now because I have that inner strength to stand back and think, listen, because I want to be worthy of God's love. And I don't want to be ashamed of who I am. And if I'm not ashamed of who I am, because sometimes I feel stupid because of my background, because of that loss of education that I never had. I've always gone through life thinking I need to prove myself. But actually what I want to do is just make a difference. And if I can do that with my faith, it really grounds me in making sure that I'm present in the moment, listening to that person, understanding the need. I think that is a real power that we could all learn in terms of being able to, to drive the right directions of meetings, of strategy, of development, of innovation.
Okay, guys, everybody ready?
Are present in that moment.
Mic drop.
Like I said, you're getting greedy with your mic drops, okay? So, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't underscore that enough. Something about not listening to respond, listening to listen, and seeing what comes out. And that comes from a confidence in knowing that the conversation can go in any direction.
Yeah.
In mental health, we have this thing called, that was devised by the Recovery College in South West London, St. George's Trust, the recovery-based model. And they speak about, it was born out from the actual patients themselves. And they said, look, healthcare professionals do not listen to us. Psychologists do not listen to us. Nurses don't listen to us. They just prescribe. And they give us direction. So we asked them what they think would help. And they said, look, just ask. Just ask us what's happening? What can we do to help them? Right? So the ask comes first. The next one is acknowledge. And this is where we find a lot of issues in transformation. We don't acknowledge what the other people are saying because we're listening to respond. So when a nurse is saying, I have to record the person's height, weight, and blah, 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 as well as this question. We're like, okay, fine, I heard you. We're not really acknowledging. We're not being able, because sometimes if that acknowledgement means we are compromising our own views on life, our own views on how the tech's supposed to be, it's not really a true acknowledgement, right? So we tend to end up having discussion that's born out of a bias. It doesn't really, so we say we've had a engagement, but we haven't really engaged. So a lot of people just fail the engagement at the acknowledgement part. Being able to sit in silence is also good, and not speak, not feel compelled to open your mouth. I've struggled for years, like filling in the blanks, empty noise. I'm like, I've got to fill in the gaps. My faith allows me to meditate in those moments, but in the present. And I believe that gives other person time to formulate their thoughts as well. You spoke about you don't know where the other person's coming from, what other problems that they're having as well. And just by you being present, I guess, and not speaking, it's possibly the first opportunity for them to be still with their thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just about holding space, isn't it, for somebody? And I think with COVID, obviously, we've lost that connectivity face to face in person. And I think a lot can be gained from body language. And we've had to learn new skills almost on Teams or in these meetings. And whilst they've been great for, time saving, sometimes we miss that human contact and the ability to use our intuition. When you see someone, there's that unspoken word that you understand how someone's feeling. And, we've had to learn these new skills. But I think if you can learn to hold that space and not fill the gap, as you said, it just gives somebody that bit of time. And I think the other thing is sometimes when we go, hey, how are you? We don't really want to ask. We don't want the answer. And so we as a person say, oh yeah, I'm fine, thanks. When actually inside we're not. And for me, it's not having, sometimes there's that loneliness. People feel lonely, especially, with the remote working sometimes, or even in, on a busy ward with hundreds of people, you can feel lonely. And I think for me, what my faith does is I'm never alone. I can always call on him to come and meet me wherever I need him to be. And I think that, I wish people had that. I wish people could find that. And I don't mean that they need to have a Christian faith. I think sometimes just a belief, if you believe in the Creator, if you believe there is something bigger than yourself out there, tap into that, listen, find that energy that raises your vibration, whether it's God, Mother Nature, the universe, whatever it is, but find that connectivity where it means that you're never alone in the journey that you're going through. Wow.
Yeah, that is super. Yeah. When I edit this video, people are going to say I'm just using that mic drop button, but it's so important to go there with you. I salute you for that one.
Struggle to achieve your goals or to find your purpose in life? Why waste your time dreaming when you could be fulfilling your biggest, boldest, brightest goals? Tune in to the Mic Drop Club and listen to guest speakers and people of influence as they reveal their secret techniques to help you to get to your dreams and goals and turn them into reality. Do you struggle to prioritize your tasks to achieve your goals? Surely there's a better way. We don't have to land in space to be great. Frankly, we don't need to, but given the opportunity, wouldn't you like to do something spectacular and make an impact? Tune in to the Mic Drop Club, where the secrets behind achieving extraordinary results are shared weekly with your host, Douglas Hamandashay. We'll be with you every step of the way, giving you all the motivation to not just live life, but to make life boom.
Believing in the power of belief is something that has guided my career. Even when you don't have belief, even when your belief is shaken, believing in the power of belief will enable you to help somebody recover on their journey. Just you respecting that belief has a power assigned to it. Because all too often, medics, they'll give you a diagnosis that is not good. But your own experience can change the outcome or how you choose to live out your life. That's something no physician can prescribe to you. That's something you have to do for yourself. So the belief and the power of belief is so important for health and so important, I think, for transformation, particularly strategic transformation, business transformation, where we are working with technology that's going to change the lives of thousands, millions, millions of souls are going to be feeling different with our technology. So as we were thinking about titles and we come up with the unseen hand, I would want that unseen hand to be ever present within the business case as a dimension. As you do a project plan, there should be some way of acknowledging that these are benchmarks, as it were, but it may be hard to quantify, but it doesn't really matter, is to ask those questions, pre and post implementation. How are you feeling as an individual with the technology? I think we miss that completely.
Yeah, we really do miss, we talk about benefit transformation, what is the benefit of the digital implementation of any kind. And I think sometimes, some technologies are really obvious of how they're going to benefit the patient or how they're going to benefit the clinical workforce. And then there's others where, sometimes you don't see that when we talk about, EPRs and shared care records, all the fundamental basics. But, how does that transform and help bring a benefit is really, really important to understand. And it's not just a paper exercise. It needs to be going to the end user, going to the patient and really understanding. And if we're not meeting that benefit, and they don't always have to be quantitative. I think a lot of benefits, in transformation are qualitative. They are that patient experience. How does it improve outcomes? But, if we can bring that back to, is it working? And if it's not working and you're listening and you're coming from a place of caring and of love for this person, you've never met them, but you want to improve their lives. You want to make a difference to them, whether they're a patient, a nurse, a clinician, a secretary. If we want to make a difference, we need to listen. And if we're not meeting that change, we need to change it back. We need to do something different. And it's that continuous improvement. But I think that's the part sometimes that technology and transformation misses. We go for the quantitative strategic direction. And actually we need to be looking at that lower level of actually, from within, how are we supporting and making someone's life different from the inside?
Absolutely. Because technology has enabled you to have more time to think about those things in your life, which I think is a liberating and refreshing discussion. And I must say, Charlotte, that for me, this conversation is so, so important because I feel having it hidden, and nurses avoid two subjects traditionally, and not just nurses, entire health system. One is sex, another one is faith. We could talk about everything else till the cows come home, but we will not sit down with somebody confidently and have a conversation around those two subjects. So we never really find the real drivers. Everything is superficial and we patch you up, you're discharged, you're freed up a bed, well done.
Yeah.
But we haven't really, with the short opportunity we've had to transform a life, we haven't gone there.
I always think when I was on the ward, I would love to put into a pathway prayer. And it doesn't matter, just a cultural belief that's at some point. So for me, at the beginning of a shift, we'd have our handover, and internally, even though I knew that I was never going to heaven at this point, but I knew that I would just say, God, if you love me, just help me out here. Help me get out. Help me make a difference. Help me change somebody's life today. Help me, I want to go to bed knowing that I made a difference, that I was actually worthy of my life, because, old age is a privilege. We don't all get there. So I want to make the best out of my day. And by just putting in prayer, we call it prayer. You can call it meditation. You can call it giving thanks. You can call it giving gratitude. You don't have to come from a Christian faith belief, whatever that is. If we just prayed before an operation, if we just prayed with the person before they went down, before they went under, how much comfort could that give someone in restoring that faith? And I always think sometimes that is missing. And you're right, people don't want to talk about it. It's a taboo subject, and, they want to ask the big questions, or more to the point, they don't understand faith. They want to ask the questions, but they don't know who to ask. And people always say to me, when I say I've got a Christian faith, they're like, "Oh, you don't look like a Christian." Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, what does a Christian supposed to look like? Yes, I'm not perfect. I have all of my, the things that I do wrong, and I don't need to be perfect. I am who I am meant to be, and I am loved being that person. And I just want people to find that. But you're right, we don't talk about that. And I do think there's a need sometimes to bring in that spiritual guidance into healthcare.
Sure. No. Thank you for confirming that, because it's something that I was trying to figure out, trying to ascertain how big an opportunity are we missing by not including this in digital change transformation. Mm-hmm. And you're right, in terms of framing it, prayer could mean many things. An example, I was speaking to one of my colleagues, and he's a Apple fanatic. Mm. And my ecosystem's Apple, but it's for different reasons. But he's a fanatic. And he was talking to me about why he has been on Apple, and because he subscribes to their value-based proposition, to think different, and then I'll start thinking about company slogans from Just Do It, Nike, what else was the one? I'm loving it, McDonald's. Probably me thinking about my stomach. All of these things. And I was thinking, okay, these, in a sense, are affirmations, isn't it? Right? Mm-hmm. But then they don't say they're prayers. No. They're like affirmations, right? They are really, if you really break them down, because they talk to you on not just a physical level, on a deeper level, mm-hmm. and on an emotional level at least. So I think maybe businesses had their slogans that are faith driven. Like what are you aspiring to do with your technology? You say that, and you say it all the time. When I am waiting for my British gas engineer and I'm on hold, I'm not just listening to random music. I'm listening to the affirmation of why you exist as a company and the value that you want to bring to me. Yeah, I'm just listening to whatever it is. I just think I think to win hearts and minds, which is this central block of digital change and transformation, is winning hearts and minds.
Yeah.
Your hearts gravitates to things that are qualitative and are a lot deeper, and I think a lot of these tech companies are completely missing that component. I would like to see how, if possible, we could think about redefining a couple of slogans.
Absolutely. And I think it will be, businesses
believing better.
And businesses don't want to do that, do they? Because they don't want to be the first to put out that mind part of it, that heart part of it. They do it from a point of, this is what we can do. This is the problem that we can solve. This is how we do it. But if we went out there, and I think that's what's important to me working for HIC now, Healthcare Innovation Consortium, is that I want to bring the team's values, who they are, because I think that's what, the next generation is going to want to invest in. Yes, tick box, you've got all these skills that you can offer me, but actually, who are you? Where are you coming from? Because if you're coming from a place of profit, and, I'm not interested in that. But if you're coming from a place of faith and I can talk to you about, making a difference on a spiritual level, now you've got me. And when you've got 5 companies that are all vying with this for the same, project, if that, transformational project, if you're going to want to resonate with me, if I can come up as my authentic self, being who I am, we're going to resonate on. We're going to raise our vibration. We're going to do good things together.
But we do know that when we look at the younger generation coming up, they are coming from a perspective like, what are your views on global warming? Yeah. What are your views on like fair trade? Carbon emissions. So that the whole point, as you're saying, that value and articulating those values is also important. And faith is one of those things. Because it is most definitely making the world a better place. Because if we feel less angry, less anxious, less overworked, more valued, if we feel whole,
yeah,
complete, we do less damage to the earth, you know? So that's what these to me are tenets, are building blocks for any aspiring organization to wrap around, you know, to really reconcile and say, yeah, you know, we can stick our head above the parapet. We don't have to be aligned to any Orthodox church per se, but these are the values and we are able to freely articulate them, which I think is important. You know, like having this conversation, I've never had it before, Charlotte. To tell you the truth, I've been doing this podcast now for 2 years.
Right.
I've never had it in around technology, in around my professional capacity. I've had faith-based conversations just for faith talking, you know, and it's liberating.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it is. And like you say, that new generation, they've got a very different outlook, you know, from us. And I think in the life cycle, there's 3 generations. There's the younger generation, there's the older generation, and then there's me currently, that's that middle generation. And when it comes to technology and understanding, that's 3 different generations you've got to try in a workforce as a patient, that you've got to try and meet the need of. And I think sometimes that is very, very difficult. You know, we've got paper-based parents that, you know, will still write checks. And then you've got the digital, you know, almost thinking, you know, that next level of thought that brings an action to the forefront. But then there's us in the middle. And I think we're a really good bridge at the moment between bringing some of those old traditions, bringing in the faith, because you're right, the younger generation are very focused on global warming, change, and they talk about spirituality, but they talk about it from a universe point of view. And I think we almost have you know, a duty of care to that younger generation to bring some of that knowledge and experience to them, so it's not lost. I think sometimes with the digital, you know, change, we can lose that. But if we're implementing it from that place of faith and trust and love, we can build those values in and teach our younger generation how important it is to really understand what that spiritual level looks like. Yeah,
absolutely. We have duty, and I'm in the ballpark with you. Like from when we had our first conversation to now, things move very quickly. I've been thinking about it for the last week and a half. I've changed my outlook. I've pivoted some things I was going to be prioritizing. So I was thinking, no, I could do something else. And the younger generations need stillness. They need prayer. Particularly, we see a rise in self-harm. We see a rise in eating disorders. We see a rise in all these things. But these things tend to come from an environment where it's too fast. Information flows are constant, never yielding, and being able to sit around adults that can create that safe space. Pause now, time to reflect. Those types of things. There are things that we can do with technology to enable that. So it'll be fascinating to see what the future looks like, really.
Absolutely. And I think you've got children, I've got children, they're at different ages, and I fear for them in this fast-paced world. And I know that technology is the way forward, especially in personalizing healthcare, you know, in the way we treat. We need to move to from a reactive to a proactive way of treating and caring for people as we live longer. And we're coming up with all these new ideas. But in doing so, that younger generation really needs to slow down. I just want to say, slow down. Life is happening. Life is going to happen. But just, look up from your phone and just look around you and take in that beauty and just give thanks for where you are today.
Wow. Let's lead on that. What's the strangest place you found faith?
Oh, strangest place I found faith is always, I think it's always with me now. It's always with me, but finding it, that first point of finding it in in a hall, you know, in the middle of a town with strangers was just, you know, one moment where I think people think they find faith, you know, they need to go on some spiritual pilgrimage to find it. And actually it's within you, but you can get that faith. You can find it everywhere if you look. And I think that's what we don't do. So I find faith in miracles, and every day is a miracle for me. You know, I wake up and think, I made it today. You know, I've survived. Let's make a difference. Let's impact life. And, you know, you spoke about being on the phone to, you know, waiting for someone with that music. You know, there's an idea of, you know, that inside that you get frustrated and you're annoyed because you're on hold and, you know, time. You know, there's always that pressure. But actually, what I now do is come and I bring faith in and I say, I am blessed. And when you come from, I'm blessed to be here. I just hold this space and find your faith, ground your feet, and take this moment of, do you know what? You're very busy. So, and you've told God that, God, I'm so busy. I've got no time for anything. So he's given you this space to wait and hold on a phone for you to ground yourself. And I find him there. I find my faith there. So I find it in all odd places. You can find it, you know, you might be in a supermarket and you just, you know, you're standing there and you're listening to someone, or somebody can't reach the top shelf to get a can of beans. I find faith there because I bring that, I help that person. I give them the can. I'm blessed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, so Charlotte, I think there's an element of you that's very creative. You've got a creative soul as well.
Oh.
Because there's some people are rigid, and I think you touched upon it, where the traditional places people tend to think that's where faith dwells. You have to go to a physical building, a church, a mosque, a synagogue, before you can find faith. But we've talked about finding faith in the strangest of places, from the supermarket, you know, to a hall. You know, it's to waiting on a call on the phone. It's our outlook. It's permission to experience that's already within us, to let that go. So it's almost like learning how to see again. Because if I walk the dog and I'm in a certain mindset, I'm not aggressive to the dog. I'll get annoyed with the dog for stopping and sniffing every few yards. I go, come on, we need to go. But if I shift my mind, every time he stops and I observe my dog doing these things, I also observe the flowers as well before he ruins them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, for people that, you know, don't have a faith or think they don't have a faith or want to know a bit more about it, you know, I guess I would say just start, you know, your church is within you. You know, just go within, pick up an app, you know, do a meditation, but just bring yourself back to the present, go within, and you know what? Just say hi, start that conversation.
Say hi.
Just say hi. You don't need to pray, you know, the Lord's Prayer. I don't speak like that. You know, I call him JC, big guy JC. And I call on them. And I think, you know, this younger generation, when we talk about faith, there's that old element of what church and religion is. But I think there needs to be a shift in that it's not just black and white anymore. You know, we need to be a bit more open with the younger generation and just talking in normal talk. It doesn't have to be a Bible speak. You know, just say hi. You start any relationship by saying hi, by saying hello. I need you. Are you there? And then, but you have to give space to listen back.
Yeah. That's certainly some great take homes there. And as we're getting ready to like close, something about technology, and it might, correct me if I'm wrong, or give me your view about this. Isn't the creator the ultimate technology?
Yes. I believe that, you know, God has given us our minds, And he's given us our minds to create technology, to be innovators. And I think all the design, he is the creator. He's designed us. He transforms us. We talk about transformation in digital. He's transformed us. And in doing it, and we innovate ourselves, we evolve, we constantly go on a benefit realization journey, we continuous improvement of ourselves. And I think in technology, we follow that same principle, but Creator has given us the tools because he wants us to improve life. He wants us to move with the times. He knows that, the world that we live in now, he knows there's troubles that, and the anger and all of he knows all of the troubles that we're going to go through, all of the problems that we're trying to solve. And he's given us the tools. He's given people technology, the ability to build, develop, implement, change our healthcare system. Because ultimately, coming right the way back to the beginning, Douglas, it's about caring, and we all care. God cares for us. We care for others. He gives us the tools to create. We create change. Yeah. And I think that's that continuous cycle of transformation.
Yeah, Charlotte. Yeah. Another mic drop for Charlotte, please. Yeah, here we go. Wow. And and as you're saying, it gives us permission to create. I just want to add something to that. The first job that we had as, if you're of faith, Christian faith, was to tend to the garden. Mm. Yeah. And that was Adam's job. That was Eve's job, to tend to the garden, to care for the garden. And I think that is still what we're talking about here in digital transformation. We're taking care of the garden. That's what we are doing. We're caring for the garden. That's what we're actually doing in reality. And the second we stop attending to the garden, the weeds will come, and we use the technology to care for the garden better. We've evolved from the sickle, was it hoe? Is it hoe? Thing like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We've transitioned. But in doing so, we've also brought in some destructive elements. But this is why we need to have a position in technology and transformation that's coming from a more sincere, wholesome place, that we're not coming to do damage, we're coming to care. So, Charlotte, as we're about to close, any future gazing, anything that you want to share with our listeners before we bounce?
Thank you, Doug. I think I love that. Wouldn't it be great if as a company, our values was we're going to tend to the garden of technology. Yeah. That would really set the cat amongst the pigeons. But I think, coming from it, I just want to say that, we need to trust. We need to trust ourselves. We need to trust our intuition. We need to trust that inner voice, and whether that's, comes from a place of, from a Christian faith, whatever faith or belief that you have. I think trust in who you are, trust in your ability, trust in God, trust in innovation, and trust that if you are in a place where you can deliver change, do it, because we all have a duty of care to those beneath us, that those that are in a position where they right now on the wards with the nurses, stress and anxiety, loss in confidence, not even being able to look at those lower Maslow hierarchy of needs in terms of, the basics of life. If we're in a position where we can use digital transformation properly to help these people, then that's what we need to do. And we need to do it from that place of faith. So if there's, if people are struggling with faith, if they're struggling with mental health, if they're struggling with their job, be open, talk to someone, pick up the phone and just ask those difficult questions. Because there's people out there like me and you, Douglas, that are more than happy to sit down and have these difficult conversations around the big questions of, why does God let people do bad things? Why does God let people die? All those things that I think are barriers to faith. But if we can help people understand them, they will then be able to make the transformational changes in healthcare, in digital, that will really drive difference.
Absolutely. Charlotte, you've been a godsend, I must say. This has been, a crazy, crazy journey that it started off with the mantra, or the idea that we're going to frame it around the unseen hand that drives technology. But I think the way that you articulated the whole panacea of health and how technology and how your own journey interweaves with that from a caring-based perspective has been amazing. So, Charlotte, hopefully we can do another one. Well, we went off script. We've done what we did. But how can people get hold of you, Charlotte?
Absolutely. You can, obviously through you, Douglas, if people want to reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, Charlotte John, Healthcare Innovation Consortium, a Chief Operating Officer. So please reach out on there by email, through our website, or through you. As I say, you're not alone, and just, I'll hold a space for you. So I'm here if anyone needs me, over the Christmas period when there's that time of stress, or, coming into the new year and you've got all these new goals and you want to understand, how do I get into the tech business? How do I transform my own journey? Then, that's what we're here to do. We can share our experiences. Super, super. Thanks a lot, Charlotte. Have a great day. Thanks, Douglas. You too. Take care. Brilliant. Wow, we've done it.
You are so much more. MicDropClub.com.
Oh my God, star performer.
Make life boom. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out MicDropClub.com and get the show notes and useful links. Subscribe to the podcast. Don't just live life. Make life boom.